We want to welcome everybody. We welcome Saba. Please mute yourself. Mark Frankel, Dr. Guy, Yaakov Warman, Michal Abram Chavin, Menachem Umansky, A.B. Spry, Yisrael Fisher, Yitzi Fuchs, and Ruvain Shannet, Dr. Black, Shimon Klein, Ben Zion Cohn, Barry Cement, Rabbi Kranz, Nachman Chapler, Gabriel Epstein, Bersh Gesselman, Mo Kushner, Shelley Zeitlin, Eddie Chazan, Gedalia Engel, Bruce Eisenberg, Meir Hyman, good to have you, Irving Fishbaum, Stephen Holtzman, Chaim Lerner, Danny Vogel, Moshe Lehman, Avram Rezepkritz, Chaim Braun, Richard Rosenzweig, Ilya Shutman, David Helfgott. Did we lose Mark Frankel? Oh, there he is. There you are, Mark. So now the Gemara turns to salt, as we're on the bottom of Daf Yut.
I'm just going to ask you where we are. Okay, very good.
We're on the bottom of Daf Yut Tesamid Beis. So, Maskava Rav Huna, Hari Melech, Deloy Tani Bekra, the pasuk doesn't repeat salt, yet yet salt is essential. The Tanya, it says in the pasuk, Bris Melech Olamhu, everlasting covenant of salt, Shetehei Bris Emura Melech, that there's a covenant by salt. Divrei Rabbi Huda, Rabbi Shimon Aimer Nema Kan Bris Melech Olamhi. It says that it's an everlasting covenant. V'nema Lahalon Bris Kuhunas Olam, a covenant of priesthood forever. Kishem she'ef shel karbanis b'lay kahuna, just like karbanis are not possible without kahuna, kach ef shel karbanis b'lay melech. So it's also not possible with karbanis without salt. But the pasuk doesn't repeat it. Now you'll say, what's the kasha? Even though it doesn't repeat it, it says bris, or it compares it to kahuna. The Gemara will answer that shortly. But the Gemara first suggests, well, maybe Rav holds that salt is not essential. Amar Rav Yosef, Rav Ketana Didan Svirale. Rav holds like Artana. The Amar Loy Malach Kosher. If you don't salt, it's kosher. Suggests the Gemara, well, that might mean that it doesn't need to be done by a kayin. It could be done by a zar. Says Gemara Amalei Abaya, Ihachi Lo Yotzik Nami. Does that mean Lo Yotzik Klal? You didn't pour the oil at all? Of course you need Yitzika. El Lo Yotzik Kayin El Azar. It means that it can be done by a non-kayin. Hachanami, our Mishnah doesn't hold that salt is not essential. It just means that it doesn't have to be done by a kayin, only by a zar. Lo Yotzik Kayin El Azar. So the Gemara says that's not possible. The Malicha was done by the Mizbeach. A zar is not allowed to come to the Mizbeach. A zar is only allowed to be in the first 11 amas of the Azara. Says the Gemara, Amalei, v'chi tala al datka she zar karav l'gabi mizbeach. The zar could come to the mizbeach. So obviously, when the Mishnah says loy malach, it means that you don't salt at all. So Rav will hold like our Mishnah that salt is not essential. The Iba Yisema, no. Even though the pasuk doesn't repeat it, it's essential because it says bris, or compares it to the bris of kahuna. The Iba Yisema, kevin the ksib bei bris, commanded tani bei krodam. It's like it's repeated. Says the Gemara, we said that the pasuk doesn't repeat it. V'loy tana beikra? Is it not repeated? It says in the pasuk many times, V'ksiv kol karban minchaska b'melach timlach. All of your karbanis of a meal offering, it should be salted with salt. And it says you should not interrupt the salt from the karbanis, but rather al kol karban chatakriv melech. So the pasuk repeats salt many times. Says the Gemara, no, that's essential. It's not. That's not a repeat. That's coming to tell you a lot of laws. Hahu mebayile lekidisanya ilu nemar karban b'melech. If it would say karban by salt, shemei ani afilu eitzim v'dam. I might think that we have to salt the wood and blood also. Shenikru karban. Now we're going to see later at the end of the daf that Eitzim is not called carbon, but dam is called carbon. So if it just said, I'll call karboncha takrav melech, I would think that you have to salt blood. Talmud Leimer shenikru carbon, because they're called carbon. Talmud Leimer mincha. Now, ma mincha miyuchedes, sha'acherin ban chayvela, just like a meal offering is unique, that it has a partner, because the meal offering has to be offered on wood. So, ma mincha miyuchedes, sha'acherin ban chayvela, afkal, what has to be salted? Sha'acherin ban chayvela, that others are linked to it as a partner. But blood is offered by itself, and the eitzim are by itself. Says the Gemara, well, then we should say that you should need another feature of the mincha. And that is, the mincha is mater the shirayim. Ima mincha miyuchedes shemateres, af kol shemater. We should say anything that's a mater. And then we should include the blood, because of course the blood is mater, the meat to be eaten. Avidam shemater. Talmud Leimer, the pasuk says, "Me al min choscha." It's a meat from your meal offering. V'loy me al damcha, but not from your blood. The blood doesn't need to be salted. Yachal tei mincha kula tuna melech. Now another drasha. I might think that the entire meal offering has to be salted. Talmud Leimer carbon. What's the carbon of the meal offering? The kmitza. Talmud Leimer carbon ton melech. Only the kaimitz, which is an offering, needs to be salted. The ein mincha kula tuna melech. The whole mincha does not need to be salted. Now, the ein li'ela kaimitz. I only know the handful of the mincha needs to be salted. Menayin l'rabbis es halavayna. You know, Berish can offer an independent offering just of frankincense. Menayin l'rabbis es halavayna. How do I know to include even an independent offering of frankincense? Marbani es halavayna. First, I only know the meal of the handful of the mincha. What about the kaimitz that accompanies it? What about the levina that accompanies it? The ainly ela kaimitz. Minayin l'Rabbi says levina. How do I know the frankincense that accompanies the handful? Marbani es halavayna shekain ba yima b'klei echad, because it comes together in the same keli with the kmitza. So just like the kmitza has to be salted, the levina has to be salted. But what if Berish brings an independent offering of frankincense? Menayin l'Rabbi says halavayna haba b'fnei atzma. And what about, how do I know to include the levina haba b'zichen, the frankincense that's in the sensibles of the lechem hapanim, v'akteris, and the incense that it needs to be salted? And what about those menachos that don't have kmitza? Minchas kahan, mincha v'kayin, minchas kayin mashiach, mincha v'kayin gadol offered every day, half in the morning and half in the evening. Or minchas nesachim and the minchas libations, which is burnt entirely on the mizbech. Eimurei chatas, what about the sacrificial portions of the sin offerings? Eimurei ashim, the sacrificial portions of the guilt offerings. Eimurei kachay kachim, this includes the shalmei tzibur of Shavuos, which is kachay kachim. Eimurei kachim kalam, and the sacrificial portions of kachim kalam, like that of a taida, a shlamim, ma'isa behema, ve'evrei oila, and the limbs of a burnt offering, which all go on the mizbech. Va'oilas oif, and the burnt offering of an oif. Chatas oif, nothing goes on the mizbech, but of the body. But the oilas oif, how do we know it has to be salted? Talmud Leimer, the pasuk says, kol karboncha takrav melech. The entire carbon is offered. All of your karbonos are offered with salt. Now, we're going to now dissect this. Remember, when it says Amar Mar, it's like a gufa. We're going to do now a deep analysis. And I wish I didn't have to be a mute police. Amar Mar. Okay. Amar Mar. Ainli ela kaimitz. I only know the handful. Menayin l'Rabbi says halavayna. How do I know the frankincense that goes together with the kmitza? Because it comes with the same vessel. Why do I need the svar? It comes with the same vessel. We said that we include anything that has a partner. And the levina has a partner. It's that others come in unison with it, right? That the kmitz is put on wood, so we include anything else. Now the levine is also put on wood. So the Gemara says, well, there's more to the story over here. I might think that we should dash in only a klal or prat. Hachikama. Aim a carbon klal or mincha prat. Now we know one of the 13 principles of Rabbi Shmuel is klal b'prat, aim b'chlal el mashe b'prat. Klal b'prat, aim b'chlal el mashe b'prat. I would say mincha in and nothing else. Midachrin alay. Hadar Amar, it says again, al kol karbancha, chazer klal. That's a generalization, specification, generalization. Klal prat a klal. Ain't not done elakain prat. It has to be similar to the specification. Ma prat mefurish acherim ban chayvela. That others come together with it. In other words, it has a partner. So the mincha has a partner with the wood. Af kol shacherim ban chayvela. Says the Gemara. Acherim ban chayvela maniu. What does it mean that others come in together with it? That the kmitza has a partner, eitzim. Af kol eitzim, then includes anything else that requires wood. Says the Gemara, and that would include ema levona, that includes frankincense. V'aisi dam, and maybe we should say that we should also include blood, because it comes together with the libations, because you sprinkle the blood and you pour the libations on the mizbech. V'aisi dam dikin esachim, says the Gemara, the libations are not a partner with the blood. The libations are a partner with the meat. They come together with the sacrificial portions. My timer, because that's achilo shtia. It's the eating of the mizbeach. That's the sacrificial portions, and the drinking is the nesachim. Says Adirabba. Maybe we should say it goes together with the blood, and it's kapara and simcha. Kapara is simcha. The blood is the kapara, ki'adamo and nefesh, and the nesachim is simcha. El levina, says the Gemara. The reason why levina is included is because it's ba'ima b'klei echad. But the nesachim ain't ba b'klei echad. But the nesachim don't come together with the dam in one keli. Says the Gemara, aval eitzim, the fact that an item goes together with wood, that is considered a partner because wood accompanies all karbanos. Ki echid miskasher b'mincha, just like wood makes the mincha appropriate. Hachi miskatcher b'hu kula karbanos. It is necessary for all the karbanos. Now, but there's another feature of the mincha, and that is the kemitza is a matir. So maybe we should say the only thing that needs to be salted is both that it has a partner and that it's a matir. Ve'ema ma prat mefurish shachem bon chayvin la enu materis. It's a matir. Now, if that's the case, af kol shachem bon chayvin la materis. Only something that's a matir. Umayniu, that's levayna abab is bezichen. That's the frankincense that comes with the 2 spoonfuls of the lechem upon him, the shaya lechem, because it permits the bread. But something that's not a permitter would not need to be salted. In other words, frankincense that Berish brings alone would not need to be salted. So now the Gemara says, no. Since it needs to be mamayit for mincha and not for blood. Now, blood doesn't have both properties because blood doesn't have a partner, and yet we need a miyah to be mamayit blood just because it has one feature. It's a matir. As long as it has one feature, that it has an accompaniment like wood, you need to salt it. Amamar. Again, this needs a lot of analysis. Amar, really a lot of details on this daf over here. I want to thank Hashem that I'm able to do this with you tonight. I had a little bit of a hard time when I landed in Florida, and I really wasn't feeling well. And we'll learn that I should have a full recovery. Moshe Meir ben Esther Fadl, Refuah Shalem B'Sech Shachar Yisrael. The fact that I'm able to do two dafim with you is a big chesed from Hashem, and I'm very grateful to Hashem. I'm very grateful to all of you, and I'm also a big chesed that I'm running 35 zoomers on just a hotspot on my phone. I don't know what I would have done otherwise. The internet is down for some reason. Now, Amamar, it says, Me'al minchascha, v'loi me'al damcha. For your mincha, and not for the blood. Says the Gemara, but maybe mincha comes to exclude that you don't have to salt the sacrificial portions. Ve'ema me'al minchascha, v'loi me'al ivarecha, and not the sacrificial portions. So now the Gemara plays the comparison game. In other words, which one does it make sense that it should include? Mistavra evarim havalei l'revuya. It's mistavra that limbs should also need to be salted, because they have a lot of comparison to the mincha. Shekain, there's 6 comparisons. Shekain acherim boyon chayven lo kamosa. Just like mincha needs the wood, so does the sacrificial portions need wood. Blood doesn't need wood. Ishim kamosa, it has to be consigned to the fire, while blood doesn't go on the fire. B'chutz kamosa, it's always done outside in the Azara, while blood is sometimes done inside in the temple, like the Par Kohen Gadol, the Paralim Davashil Tzibah, the Par Kohen Mashiach. Noiser Kamaisa, there's an Isser Noiser of Chorus if it's left after its time, both by the Mincha and by the limbs. There's no Noiser by Dam. Tumah Kamaisa, both the mincha and limbs could become tamei. The dam doesn't become tamei. And me'ila kamaisa, there's trespass with both the mincha and evarim. By dam, there's no trespass because it says vayadam lochem. Says the Gemara, Adarabba. Blood is more similar to the mincha. Dam havalei l'revuye. Shekain matir kamaisa. Blood is matir the meat, and the kmitza is matir the flour, the shirayim. The meat is not matter anything, and nifsal b'shkia sachama kamaisa. The blood and the mincha are puzzled by shkia. The meat could be smoked up the entire night. Says, well, it's 6 against 2. Hanach nefishin. 6 is more, and that's why we say that we're mamayet dam, that doesn't need to be salted, but we're not mamayet the evarim, the limbs. So we said that I would think to include both wood and blood, that it needs to be salted because they're called carbon. Shenikru carbon. And it says, Al kol karban chatak of melech. Says, who says wood is called carbon? Man shamalei damar eitzim ikre carbon. Who says wood is called carbon? Rebbe. It's only Rebbe. Well, according to Rebbe, Rebbe holds that wood has to be salted. Rebbe meboy boy melech. He holds that wood has to be salted. The Tanya carbon, malamed shin misnadvin eitzim. This teaches us that Gedalia could offer a voluntary wood offering. The kama, how much wood does he have to bring if he says Hari alai eitzim? Shnei gzirin. He has to bring 2 logs. V'cheinu oimer v'hagoyrolois hipalnu. And lots were cast al korban ha'etzim for those that would bring wood offerings. Rabbi Aimer, Rabbi says the wood offering is actually a type of a mincha. I gotta try to mute people. Says the Gemara, says the Gemara, the wood is called a mincha, and therefore utunim melech, it needs salt. Utunin agasha, the wood offering has to be brought to the corner of the mizbeach, southwestern corner. The Amar Rava l'divrei Rebbe, get a load of this. According to Rebbe, if Gedalia brings a wood offering, you have to chop off splinters and put a handful of it on the mizbeach. Eitzim tunin kmitza. The Amar Rapapa l'divrei Rebbe, eitzim tzrichem eitzim. And Rapapa said, according to Rebbe, the wood needs to be put on wood. It needs to be put on other wood. So the Gemara says, you're right. Sami mikan eitzim. Erase from over here wood. The Havamina was that, because according to the one that says wood is a carbon, it does need to be salted. Rather, say that I would have thought that blood needs to be salted. And therefore it says in the pasuk that it doesn't. Now the question is, which we'll deal with tomorrow, Be'ezus Hashem, is why do I need another pasuk when we already exclude dam from me'al minchasor v'lo yal demcha? Why do we need then two psukim? So that we'll discuss in Yirtzeh Hashem at 8 o'clock tomorrow. First of all, I really want to thank everybody. Was it clear the whole time through?
Yes, Rabbi.
It was clear. That's a big bracha. Okay, now, Rabbi Isai, now we're going to do the Mishnah Gaimis. Just give me a minute to set up over here.
Right, but